Okay, you're live.
Am I live?
You're live.
Wow. We miss you guys. Haven't talked to you guys for a couple of weeks. So I thought that maybe it's a good time to say hello to you guys, right? Make sure you still remember my face.
Yeah.
Something like that. Okay.
So you've got a funny looking face.
I know. I got
people to
a funny looking face. You see my haircut right now? Okay, nice. What?
Who are you?
Who am I?
I don't know who you are.
I don't know. I used to sell light bulbs, but you know what? Something happened. If you guys remember last time we were talking to you guys, we had another crisis about transportation.
Well, we don't know if those people were on, Ellis.
Oh, really?
So this is Ellis Yan. He's the CEO of TCP. And I'm Leslie Matt. I'm the Senior Vice President. And we're really happy that you decided to join us today.
So,
if you're a repeat joiner, welcome back. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome.
Welcome. That's right. Welcome.
Yeah. This could be their first experience.
You see, all I do here is to keep the door open, make sure the place is clean, nobody gets sick, then she does the rest.
Pretty much.
How about that?
Make
Okay.
sure people get
So
fed.
if you guys remember last time we were talking about this transportation issue,
We
right?
did. We talked a lot about the global transportation
I tell you.
crisis. We've talked about the crisis and things that I'm just going to call them things that happened between the U.S. and China. We talked about tariffs.
Let's talk about tariffs.
But
So
today,
number one, let's just review a little bit.
Okay.
First of all, okay, I do not think the Biden's administration were going to drop the tariff.
No,
So I think the
I don't think
tariff
so.
will stay with us for a while.
but I don't think they're going to
Okay.
increase it at this point.
I think they're busy with something else. So I think that one, I don't think on their agenda right now. So
Hopefully.
I would say, yes, I don't think they're going to increase, but still, let's say 25% of the tariff is pretty stiff, but it's
Yep.
still there. I think we're kind of getting used to it a little bit.
So we're stuck with what
We're
we've
stuck
got.
with that. Number one. Number two, as you guys understand, the ships are not really doing very well.
It's
So
still
they-
a mess.
It's still bad. They park up maybe 30% of ships in the ocean. So they really create, in my opinion, they created this kind of mess out there right now. So the shipping cost is still very, very high right now.
You know what else is really bad with
Yeah.
shipping? Containers.
Correct. So in other words, it doesn't matter what people are talking about. Okay, U.S. actually economy is still very, very decent,
We're
but
plugging
the
along.
rest of the world not that decent. So what happens is China side continue to ship lots of everyday goods to the U.S., but nothing for return. Nothing for return. That's why I was joking early. I said I should start another business, building containers.
You should.
I tell you, the building container right now is a booming business in China right now.
Can we?
People, no, not really. Okay, yeah. I don't have resources for the wood or for the metals right now because I need the metals for the fixtures.
So maybe we send Paul
Yeah, Santa Paul.
with a chainsaw.
Go over there to cut some trees
like
and make some container. So container is a mess right now.
Yeah.
Okay. We still struggle on a weekly basis, try to get the allocation of the containers.
Absolutely.
Okay. Also to make sure they get out of the boat so they can come over here. So I would say this mess work also will continue for the remaining of this year.
That's what everything that I've looked at said too.
Right.
That they don't see any relief
They don't see
in
anything.
the next 6 to 8 months.
No.
So,
Okay, so that's that, right? So usually you will feel like, oh my goodness, we have a tariff issue, we have a transportation issues, we have all the issues. Wow, it's just a lot of problems, right? Lots of issues we have to deal with, especially today in this economy. People, we want to offer the market very competitive price with the service that make our life just extremely difficult.
it's tough, man.
But guess what?
We got one more.
Life doesn't go better. Life is getting worse. So all of a sudden we have another crisis. Truly, I'm not kidding here. This crisis
Just when
is
you
a
think
disaster.
you've seen it all, right?
Right.
There's tariffs, there's COVID, there's shipping container shortages. Here's another one that's a result from all those things that we just talked about, and that's a global IC shortage.
IC, you heard about this IC shortage, okay?
So what is an IC, Ellis?
Okay, IC is very simple. Okay, IC basically is today is let's put a simple way, okay?
So it stands for integrated circuit.
Right, so for integrated circuit, let's go back to the old days in the
Okay.
1940s
Woo.
with the radio, right?
I
So
don't
you
even know when that
have
was.
you ever seen? You're too young for that. So in the radio those days, you have a big glass electrical tubing inside.
Yeah.
Okay. So what happens is that becomes smaller. Also, in order to make a compact version today, people able to put a design with a 1 or 5 or 10 or 20 or 30 components all together into
Mhm.
little chip. That's what we call integrated circuit.
So it's a
That's
little
where the IC
teeny
comes from.
tiny computer chip.
Right. Actually, you may not realize in our daily life, we're using thousands, millions of IC for different functions.
Yeah.
For instance, in our car, how many do we have an IC in our car?
So there's-
average.
On average, there's at least 100. However, they're saying now, since cars have come such a long way, that you're looking at new vehicles have at least 150 ICs in them.
Right, because think about all the gadgets you'd love to have in your car, from the sensors, for instance, right? I have a car, whatever, they're able to turn on the headlights, on and off automatically.
Yeah.
It's IC. It's the IC senses the distance. So any gadgets you'd love to have in your car actually is controlled by one IC.
And that's why it's such a big range right now.
Right.
Because they said the simplest of cars that don't have anything fancy, so super
Correct.
basic, like you're cranking the windows down
Correct.
yourself, they at least have 30 ICs. Because remember, the IC is not only controlling like the fancy things in the car,
Right?
but it's controlling the basics, like
Correct.
what's going on with the engine.
Exactly. So that's what we call IC, right?
Mhm.
So that's a start from, you can go as a fancy as a satellite,
Ooh.
okay? F-15 jets.
They all
okay.
have ICs.
It's all IC inside,
Because
okay?
it's a little teeny
All
tiny
right.
computer
All the
chip
way
that's
to now, when
controlling
we're
it.
talking about a car, you have 100, 150, all the way to our computer. So normally people relate IC to a computer,
Yep.
right? But today, ICs apply to everywhere. Every gadgets you have in your house has IC in it.
Because everything's got an electronic component.
Right.
Your Alexa, that's just a little computer, right?
Right. So here's what happens. So since in our daily life, you have all the IC to it, but unfortunately, IC has like some type of the priorities. Somebody gets more IC than the other people.
Well, and remember, there's different levels. So at the
Correct.
basic level, an IC is just controlling your current and your power, right?
Right, exactly.
So that's the most basic IC.
Correct. Okay, so you can start with a computer. So computer guy always get their hands on the IC before the power
fanciest
supply guy.
IC.
Right, the power supply
Absolutely.
guy. Okay, then the next one is a car company. They have a more power than the power supply guy.
Well,
so
yeah,
they
because if
get
I
the
need
LC.
150 of them,
Right.
versus your
Exactly.
two
So if you
different
start
levels.
with on the top, go all the way down. Guess what's at the bottom?
light bulbs.
Light bulbs.
Because no one thinks about light bulbs and having a little teeny computer in it
Correct.
that's controlling things.
Control things.
But
So-
Ellis, light bulbs today, because of LED technology,
However, hold on a
Have
second. Right, because of light bulbs, we make it smaller.
oh,
Okay.
teeny tiny.
For instance, I give you one example. Okay.
Can I
this
draw
is-
what an IC looks like?
Yeah,
Because it looks
all,
like
all
a
kind of
spider.
shape. You have 2 pins, 4 pins, 8 pins, 16 pins, and 100 pins.
So when
Okay.
I first started in lighting, I had no idea what a semiconductor was, and I had no idea what any of this stuff was. But one day, one of our partners, NXP, came to us at Light Fair,
Sure.
and they had this thing, right? And I'm like, what the heck is that? And they're like, here, can you put this in your booth? And I'm like, sure. And I had no idea what it was. It looked like a spider. It was a giant IC that they had blown up. So it was this black square
Right.
box, and then it had all
Pins.
these
We
little
call it
like
pins, right?
things. Well, I didn't know what it was. I was new
Okay.
to lighting. I was just hanging out, So it looked like a chocolate bar with ants under it.
Correct. So let me show you this how in a gigantic version look like. I have a 50-watt driver, which is our most popular ones in our fixture. Let me show you the 2 ICs on it. Okay. I have 2 ICs on this unit. Okay. So Leslie, don't move, otherwise I cannot focus on.
There you go.
First IC is right here. You see here? This is the first IC. Okay. This IC control of the rip current, control the 0 to 10 dimming. Then I also have another power IC right here. So each of our driver has 2 different IC, one there, one there. Okay. Now you may say, what if you don't use an IC? If we do not use an IC, this driver will be the double of the size because
least
we have
double.
other regular components too. So that's what you see here, two. In the meantime, let me show you another everyday. This is the cheapest light bulbs here. Okay.
Most affordable.
Yeah,
The
okay.
inside.
So right. So look at this guy. And this guy, this is the IC here. There's this IC, just like Leslie said,
Yep.
why are we able to make the driver so small? Because this little IC take over 30 components in it. Okay, basically is Leslie described as a power supply.
Correct. So that's the little integrated circuit. So
Right.
that's what IC stands for if you missed it the first time. Integrated circuit, and it's controlling the power. So in that little super affordable light bulb,
Right.
there's so few components because that IC is so sophisticated and so small at this point when it comes to lighting that it can control
Correct.
all of your LED chip array at the same time without adding a lot of other stuff. I mean, gosh, Alice, when you look at this, you've just got, your LEDs on the board, right?
Sure.
Your resistor on the back,
Right.
and then your IC. And that's about it.
So here's what
And then
happened.
your point wires.
So now we
which
understand
power.
what the IC is about, right?
I hope so.
So let's look at what happened last 14 months
So-
since the coronavirus started.
Ugh.
Okay, since the coronavirus started, two things happened. Okay, number one, okay, lots of people stay home. Okay, either work from home or they just stay home. So that's a
Sure.
step number one.
They're
When
free.
people spend more time in a home, guess what? The home activities start growing. For instance, there are more people now want to get a computer right now at home, right?
Yeah,
They usually work in the office now. They need another portable ones at home.
sure.
That's number one, right?
Mhm.
So in that sense, that segment of the business start growing. The
Okay.
second one is this: since we stay at home, we do home modeling, right? We want to keep ourselves busy. We get more gadgets for the house, right? So actually think about this. There's a few business blooming. Number one, believe it or not, I think everybody tries to get a dog these days, right? But dog doesn't need IC, okay? But beyond that, we love to have all the gadgets, okay? We improve our functionality in our kitchen. But
Absolutely.
remember, every gadget you get, there is IC in it.
So
All
I
of a
got
sudden,
a fancy coffee maker.
oh yeah, there's a 5 IC in it.
I got a security system
Okay, there's a 10 IC in it
or more.
or more. You see what I mean? And all of
What
a
else did I
sudden,
get?
believe it or not, all of a sudden,
Got a
if
new
you,
truck.
okay,
Oh, well, that doesn't count.
Oh.
right. So all of a sudden, the demand for IC just for those activities people stay at home went up
Well,
dramatically,
Think about it, Alice. If you had 3 kids, right, and they're all
Right.
in homeschool,
right?
they might have shared a computer for homework, but now they all need to be independently on Zooms or that. So they need
Correct.
a tablet or a computer to do their remote learning.
Correct. Okay. So that's
So
the
the man's doing
that's-
this.
demand went up dramatically. Okay, because those activities we do today.
Yeah.
Now, on the other hand, and we share with you guys how we make a TCP lighting LED chips, right? So in other words,
Very
any IC
sophisticated.
has a 2 steps. Okay, 2 steps. Step number 1 is the wafer. Wafer is a wafer guy. Okay, they make it wafers. The other guy, we call a packaging guy.
Yep.
Which means if you look at this this guy, actually inside this guy, there's a wiring. Okay.
Yep, there's
Yeah.
all kinds of
All
fancy
kind of
stuff
wiring
going
in
on.
it, okay? Are able to come out 8 pins. So this guy's doing the cutting. We call the electronic cutting. Little thing it was actually cuts inside. Then it package everything together,
Thinner than your hair,
right? And when that is done, this we call the packaging guy.
okay?
Guess what? Okay? What happens is the wafer guy said, no big deal. I just increase my capacity because the wafer is easy. The packaging guy physically makes the IC, refuse to increase the capacity because they believe the demand surge on the IC is a temporary.
Well, and Ellis, remember, to increase capacity at those factories would be
Oh,
crazy because
Again, the capital investment will be huge.
huge investment.
And you know
to
what?
try to do the cutting
I-
and packaging.
Right, I have to agree with those guys because let's say eventually the coronavirus is over,
Right.
we are getting shots, and life go back to normal. Boom, it drops back because
Maybe.
people spend more time with other things instead of their gadgets now.
Well,
All of a sudden,
you're not
right?
going to need to FaceTime.
So-
You'll meet somebody for dinner, or you go do
Exactly.
things.
So the logical way to look at this, that you know what? Hey, where the IC packaging guy say, you know what? We're not going to increase the capacity, but you know what? It's a good opportunity. We can raise the price, right? So
Uh-oh.
they artificially actually create another crisis. They didn't cause the crisis, but they created one afterwards. So let's say the capacity guy has 100.
Okay? They can
Okay.
make 100.
Now the demand is 150 right now,
They can only ever
For
make
now.
100.
right?
So they're always going to be in back
So
order.
so what happens is, see who has the more power. Okay,
Mm.
obviously the highest power go to the Apple phones. Then
Sure.
we go to computers.
Yeah.
Then we go to all the car companies. Okay, remember we talk about this. Where's the light bulbs? At the bottom.
So you're stepping it down based on demand. So you're talking about
No,
computers. you're
not
talking
demand,
about
by power.
Buying power.
That-
Yeah.
The
Demand.
buying power,
Buying
not just
power.
demand,
The
just the
demand.
buying power. They have more money.
Yeah.
They control it. Basically, they tell the packaging guy, say, if you do not give me the IC I want, okay, I'm going to cut you off. And those guys can afford that.
Well, and we're looking at 100, let's say, they do 100 cars a month, right? And they need 150 ICs per car.
Right?
That's a lot of units compared to the light bulb guy that might be doing 100 units a month or 150 units a
Also,
month.
it's
that only
simpler,
needs-
so they make
one.
less money on the light bulb IC. They
Ugh.
can make more money on the. So that being said, here's what happened right now. The light bulb guy, now obviously the car guy's in trouble too, because
There's
generally
still a
there's
shortage.
still a shortage.
Yeah.
That's why you heard Ford shut down the production line, this and that. That's outside. But today we have issues on the light bulb side. So we deal our own issues. Let me put it this way right now. Okay? Let me put it this way right now. The lead time today minimum at 4 months.
Ugh.
Any IC chips for the light bulbs is a 4 months.
And that's any light bulb.
Yeah.
4 months.
4 months. So that put us a very, very difficult position today. Thank God, for whatever the reason, TCP as a company, we actually sensed this one little bit before Christmas.
Do you think we sensed it because we're vertically integrated, Alice, and we're
Correct.
really plugged in because we own our own factory?
Right, because the moment we heard something about IC, let it not become creative. Ooh, IC. Do we using IC? That was the first question.
Yeah.
Oh yes, we're using IC. So what happened
We use a
for us?
lot of ICs, Alice. We need it in everything.
Right.
Ooh.
So Leslie said, "Oh, how is our scheduling production going? Oh, we are doing okay. But what if this is getting worse? Oops, that's getting worse. So actually, before the holiday Christmas, we actually tripled our ordering to the IC company.
So we took a gamble on it
We took
because
them
we
on it.
didn't want to run out. And
Right.
we figured, well, they don't spoil. So
Correct.
worst case, we have a little extra and we don't place an order for a month, or we,
Right.
scale it
So
back.
today, my goal for my people over there, our entire capacity over there is at any moment, I want them to have physically have a 90 days inventory, IC inventory on hand.
And
90 days.
the neat thing about that, and the way, one, they're small, but two, since we have our own factories
Right.
and our own manufacturing capabilities and our own warehousing and all of that, our team can store those components and then build the things that we need as the demand comes.
Sure. But another thing we do right now we're paranoid a little bit right
We're a
now.
little paranoid about running out of inventory.
Right. So what happened even now is we used to buy from A company. Now we're looking for the B and C company.
Correct.
Just in case the A company screwed up, we sell the B and C. So this, like Leslie said, we do that every day.
Mhm.
Not because let's say you are you're buying products from China. Okay, really, you don't really know on the other side, how do we handle this and that? You assume you know, but sometimes you do really know. So all of a sudden, they just kind of delay the shipments. There's a reason for
So
because
people
they
that-
get enough components in.
So you're
Okay.
talking about people that do like a source and sell
Right.
model, meaning that you go and you say, here's my design, you manufacture it for me, or you pick from their catalog of
Sure.
goods and you want to have your name stamped on it. We don't do that. We're TCP. We build our own things from the ground up. I think
Right.
I've said it 6 times already that we're vertically integrated and we own our own factories. So if I'm just doing that buy sell model where I'm buying something from a factory that I don't own,
Right.
They might just say, oh, sorry, Leslie, we're a little late this month. You're going to get it. Don't you worry, but we're just running a little late. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, not great, but we'll figure it out. And then 30 days passes and 60 days passes.
Correct.
And
Okay, so I would strongly suggest you, if you purchase products from China, please pay attention to the IC. You need to be a little bit nosy. You need to ask your vendor, just ask, how is your IC situation? Do you have enough IC? How is your inventory level on IC? Just pay a little bit more attention to that. So that being said, we really, Leslie and I feel there will be some kind of shortage. I would say later May, June, and July because of this. Because usually when you find a shortage at the beginning of the supply chain, it will happen 90 days or 120 days later to the end user market.
Absolutely.
That's why
I just
said,
read an article the other day from the Washington Post that was talking about the global IC shortage, referring back to things like cars and computers. However, everyone forgets like ICs are in everything. So you're like, oh, no big deal. I wasn't going to buy a laptop this year anyways, or, oh, I'm not in the market for a new truck. But you forget that so many things, they all have that IC because it's what controls the power and the current, all the way from your light bulb up to your charger, to your anything that's an electronic component, electronic equipment. The simplest things all have that IC in them.
Right.
So this global IC shortage that they're talking about mostly with cars and computers impacts everything, because to Ellis's point, those with the most buying power, those with the highest demand, meaning that they use the most units in their products, are going to get first choice.
Correct. So that being said, we really foresee in the like a later May or June. Okay, so we actually went the other way, is we started doubling our shipments now.
Loaded up on LEDs.
Load them up. Load up. And obviously China team we're not saying, yes, you want us to load it up, we have to looking for the containers now.
They actually said, are you guys crazy? Are you sure you want that much? And we went, yeah, we do.
Load it up, because we really anticipate
others being out.
Right, others being out because of that. Okay, they will stretch out that. So that's what we do. I think that's the difference between TCP and the other companies out there.
That's a huge difference between how we manage things. However, there's one very sad thing that came of all of this.
Yes. Really? I thought it's sad enough right now.
Well,
as a more sadness.
It's sad.
Oh God. Should I cry?
I think I cried a little bit when I was talking to Naichi about it one night. I was like, this is very sad.
Yeah.
Because I did. It made me sad.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Because of the fact that there is a global IC shortage and we can only accommodate the highest demand, right?
Yeah.
The best moving, the best selling products.
Oh, yes.
We had to slowly and sadly say goodbye and retire our lineup of compact fluorescent lighting products. So
this
CFL
is
products
extremely sad. Okay, extremely sad. Yeah. So let me tell you, let's just start from beginning again. Then I want to express my personal feeling about this thing, because what happens is the IC company, especially made for lighting IC company, they literally study the highest demand, the lowest demand.
Absolutely.
So after they finish the whole thing, they basically literally shut down the lowest last 30% of the demand of the IC. Okay?
So things like CFL.
No, they basically say we're not going to make those anymore because we're going to concentrate on high demand. Let's say I just show you a 50-watt drivers and all the light bulbs are making and this and that. And you know what? Just like Leslie said, the IC, the little IC, very simple IC, which the IC company make the least money on it with the least quantity on the smallest quantity, end up the bottom of their so-called production list.
And so sadly, we all know the bottom goes.
Right. The first thing they cut is cut the CFL IC. The moment they cut the CFL IC, that's it right there. There are no IC. We try to be the last one standing, but even last thing standing without that IC, we couldn't do a thing. There's nothing we can do about it. So like Leslie said, we sadly announced we have no choice. Even we love it, we just
built the company on it.
Built a company on it. We just have to say goodbye to it. Okay. The other day I was watching on the Netflix last weekend.
Oh,
I
okay.
was on Netflix, and
Oh.
that was a documentary about the last store. What's the video story?
Blockbuster.
Blockbuster. There is a Blockbuster in Oregon. It's the last one.
I saw that.
You saw that one?
I haven't watched the documentary,
Okay,
but I
it's a
read an
documentary.
article about how like that store is
We-
now
we-
exploding
We,
because of
we
the
talk about,
documentary.
I mean, the whole life is only like 15 years from beginning to the end. I would say no more than 20 years. That's how we used to be part of our life. I was watching that documentary and thinking about CFL, okay? This really kind of, oh my goodness, okay? It's sad. Leslie, you do know, I spent my, I would say, almost 20 years, okay? Start with the CFL. When we just a spiral version come out, okay?
Mhm.
And I spent 6 months to figure out how to make it, just to figure out how to make this, okay? And after we figured out how to make this, as you remember, we used to hand bend those glasses all the way to machine just like that. You spend, can you guys imagine you spend 20 years on the one product line? Okay, just try to perfecting it, just constantly perfecting. Because of that, we able to truly, okay, because of that, we were in the leading position because we constantly perfected on the CFL, okay? And to the point, really, you know, I will be very proud to say, even very sad, is we did excellent job on those CFLs.
We did
That's
one heck
why-
of a job on that product.
Right. That's why 3 years ago, we built our own LED chip manufacturer. Why? Because we want to perfect it.
Yeah,
We want to see the
absolutely.
light source, okay? Okay, obviously, we learned what we happened in the past. Obviously, today, LED lighting for the CFL is so different, but you know what, man, just to think about, you spent 20 years on one single product. You know, remember guys, I used to eat the mercury, try to convince
And
everybody.
we don't need to bring
we
that
have-
up all the time.
Yeah, you
It's
know,
okay.
because we want to convince everybody, this is the best product. There's no harm to everybody, okay? Because I improve. You guys, if you haven't watched my video on eating mercury, you should watch it because this is a fact. I'm not making this one up, okay? In that fact, I show people a piece of the tuna steak, right? Tuna fish steak, okay? A little pill of the mercury, because that piece of steak contain exactly the same amount the pill as the mercury. People don't pay, you know, one side people make a fuss but on the other side, so what's the big deal? So I make a sushi for myself. I'm not kidding here, okay? If you're watching those things, it's really cool. I have the soy sauce, wasabi. I have a tuna fish, okay? I have a good dinner with the mercury. You see, she always makes things like, oh my God, what are you talking about? That's the reality, okay? But that was old days. Today, okay, we don't have to eat the LED chips anymore.
You did once, remember?
I did it once. I just want to
That video is
glorify
still out
myself, okay? But that's what we do here. We are so unique here, okay? We love what we do. We have such a passion. We want to connect the youth, the market. We listen, okay? And we want to do better. We are always say this, okay? In order to be the best, you need to connect with the market and you have eat, sleep with their products. It's a cost, not just a simple way to make a living. It's a mission. Okay? So Leslie, that being said, unfortunately, life goes on.
And sadly, those CFLs are retired.
Retired.
So if you have a question, feel free to reach out to your TCP sales manager. They all have cross references on what an LED equivalent would be. They know inventory levels on what we have left in the warehouse. So if we have it today, that's it. Once it's gone, it's gone. Let us know
Yes.
if you're, want to buy something up. It's just kind of sad, but exciting at the same time.
Yes.
Because the exciting part about that is that we can take all of that old stuff that we utilized for CFL and we can then repurpose, reuse, recycle it, whatever we need to do to move it over to LED. What can we do with this stuff?
Exactly.
Can we sell it? Can we refit it so that it can make LED lamps? Can we do other things so that we can automate more of our factories
Correct.
and bring out more products that people are looking for?
Sounds good. Any questions?
Nothing that hasn't been answered.
Okay,
Okay.
that's good. Okay.
Good stuff.
So enjoy the day, and so glad to see you guys, and
Yeah.
we'll see you very, very soon.
Yeah. So, well, when other topics come up, we're going to do these Let's Talk Lighting pop-ups instead of doing it weekly. We're going to do them on a pop-up basis when
Yes.
there's different exciting new topics to talk about. So be on the lookout for your emails or tcpi.com for our next installment of Let's Talk Lighting. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.